Welcome to Politics News Wolf US channel. The fierce war between Ukraine and Russia continues in full swing. The Russian army cannot achieve the desired success in the occupied regions. Russian President Putin is doing his best to increase the military power of the Russian. But the Ukrainian army has been displaying a historic resistance since the first day of the occupation. Extraordinarily successful operations of the Ukrainian army are causing huge losses to the Russian army. The Russian army cannot find a solution to the problems of lack of military personnel and ammunition on the battlefield. Putin takes some decisions to solve this problem, but still fails. There are many clashes in the city of Bakhmut, the most violent region of the war, and the Russian army suffers a serious loss of soldiers in Bakhmut. Putin is resorting to very interesting solutions to meet this need of the Russian army, which is losing soldiers. In recent months, Putin's decision to solve this problem was met with a negative reaction by everyone because Putin was losing so many soldiers at the front that he had deployed almost all of the Wagner Group to Bakhmut. But the Wagner Group soldiers could not achieve success in this region. Therefore, Putin decided to send prisoners to the region. The male prisoners were promised that their criminal record would be completely erased if they fought on the front for 6. The prisoners, who were very happy about this situation, gladly accepted this condition, but the prisoners were completely unaware of what was happening in Bakhmut. The prisoners stationed in the Bakhmut area were completely self-appointed when they arrived. These prisoners had been recruited into the Wagner Group, and the Wagner Group used them as cannon fodder on the front line. These prisoners were unable to defend themselves against the successful defense of the Ukrainian army. Hundreds of thousands of prisoners centered a region lost their lives because they were used as cannon fodder at the front. Despite using prisoners, Putin was unable to solve the problem of military personnel. As the Ukrainian army was advancing towards Oskul, it was crushing all the enemy soldiers it had countered, especially in the Mut region. No force could stand against the Ukrainian army. Putin's plan to send prisoners to the front was also a complete. After this failed plan, Putin made another plan because the loss of troops suffered by the Russian army was really. Putin's new decision was nothing more than another absurdity. These illogical decisions made by Putin were not supported by anyone. Here is another decision Putin made this time: sending female prisoners to the battlefield. Putin, who did not learn from the previous incident, again resorted to a big mistake. Female prisoners released from prisons brought to mind a female Russian warrior named Valentina Gulitova. So who is Valentina Gulitova? She was a 27-year-old Russian woman who graduated from psychology and became a mother. Gulova's husband was a soldier in the Russian-Ukrainian War. Kato's husband, who was serving in Donbass to invade Ukraine, was killed during a successful attack by the Ukrainian army cleaning army. Shaken by this event, Galitova decided to join the war. After a while, Galitova was the first woman who wanted to join the army because women were forbidden to fight in the army. Galitova insisted that she wanted to fight, and the Russian army recruited Kola Galitova as a frontline doctor who healed wounded soldiers in the Mariupol region. KVA enjoyed her work and treated soldiers who has been shot or wounded in any way at the front. Kalachova was stationed in Mariupol and had to constantly change the area because she was treating wounded soldiers. The Ukraine Air Force was conducting operations regardless. The time or place in Voronezh where Galatova event treats soldiers, the Ukrainian Air Force organized, and other Kalachova also lost her life. During this attack, Kalachova was remembered as the first moment to lose her life in the Russia-Ukraine war. Kalachova and her husband had lost their lives for Putin's political interests, but they were happy about it. Both of them had never hesitated to fight for Putin's inhuman cruelty on Russian soil. Galatova's death was announced in the press as died while performing a combat mission. Let us now turn to the connection between Galatova's death and the decision to allow female prisoners to fight at the front. At the time, Galatova joined the front. The rules were very strict. Women were forbidden to fight at the front, especially on the front lines, with the exception of Kalachova. This decision was never broken, but now the situation is very different. Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, is so desperate. He's sending female prisoners to the front without even thinking about it. The women go to the front on the condition that their freedom will be restored. While this situation proves the strength of the Ukrainian army, it also reveals how desperate the Russian army is. The city of Bakhmut is one of the most critical cities of the war. Putin is putting all this efforts to occupy this city because even prisoners in prisons are sent to the battlefield. Putin's assistance for the occupation is characterized as stupid stubbornness by former Russian commander, Igor Garkin. It is really impossible to keep up with the losses in the Bakhmut region. Bakhmut turned into a city where hundreds of clashes took place within 24 hours. While the Russian army is endeavoring to occupy the city, the Ukrainian army is showing a historical success in order not to leave the city in the hands of the Russian invaders. The success of the Ukrainian army in Bakhmut is appreciated by the whole. The Russian army has lost hundreds of thousands of soldiers in the Bakhmut region, and the loss of soldiers of the Wagner Group has reached the incredible levels. Almost all of the soldiers of the Wagner Group are also serving in Bakhmut, and the Wagner Group is also suffering huge losses due to the losses it has suffered recently. New developments in Bakhmut were announced on social media. Footage of the attack carried out by the Ukrainian 45th Artillery Brigade was. It is seen that the supply truck and ammunition storage point were destroyed by the 45th Artillery Brigade. The user who shared these images wrote the following: Ukraine, a Russian rural supply truck along with an ammo storage point was destroyed by the Ukrainian 45th Artillery Brigade. In Pakovik near Bakhmut, the footage shows a Russian supply truck next to a large ammunition storage building. Obtaining artillery units blow up this lower on the fire. After the explosion spreads to the ammunition storage building next to the lower. With this spread, the intensity of the fire increases even more, and the Russian army loses tons of ammunition as a result of. The successful attack begins with a small explosion and ends with a fierce flames reaching into the sky. Another blow is Delta, the declining power of the Russian army. The strategic and military points of the Russian army are being destroyed one by one. Thanks to the attacks of the Ukrainian army, the losses of the Russian army, which is already suffering from military personnel and ammunition, problems are increasing with each The Ukrainian army targets points such as military bases and ammunition depots, causing mass destruction to the Russian army. The losses of the Russian army since the beginning of the war are as follows: 180-2017 3. Personnel 3,657 tanks, 7,083 combat vehicles, 2,795 artillery, 538 reactive spread fire systems, 284 ARDFA systems, 308 aircraft, 293 helicopters, 5,658 automotive and tank equipment, 18 military ships and boats, 911 cruise missiles, 2,339 unmanned aerial vehicles, 321 special machines. 4. Operational tactical missile. Russian leader Vladimir Putin's decisions to deal with these losses show how desperate he is. He sends prisoners from prisons to the battlefield because he does not have enough money to send soldiers to the army. He is using Soviet-era ammunition and equipment. Because Russia is going through a major economic crisis, almost no losses of the Russian army can be compensated by the Russian leadership. Russian soldiers don't know how to protect their lives. What do you think? What do you think about Putin's decisions? Do you think the losses of the Russian army can be compensated? How do you assess the increasing military power of the Ukrainian army? Thank you for watching the video. If you find it useful, please comment and share the video for us. It will make our channel more known. See you in the following videos. Thank you very much.